Midir. For a lot of people, Midir might be the scariest boss in the entire game. This gigantic, seemingly unkillable, huge HP takes no damage emo dragon. All of his attacks seem really unpredictable. He moves around all the time, breathes tons of fire, and it's just really overwhelming. On my first few casual playthroughs, I just gave up all the time and I was so frustrated. If you told past Lorena that she one day would make a tutorial for Midir, she would have not believed you. Let me just tell you, he's not as bad as he seems because he has two big weaknesses. Number one, he has a really simple moveset. It doesn't seem that way, but it is. And number two, he is really slow, which makes you able to read his attacks easily. First of all, I'm gonna go over some general, very helpful tips. Afterwards, I'm gonna explain his whole entire moveset to you, which consists of different claw attacks, 2 dashes, and a bunch of fire attacks. Then I'll go over the slight changes to his moveset in phase 2. And at the end, I'm gonna give you a little motivational speech about why you can and will be able to beat him. Alright, to start off, I'm gonna give you a bunch of general tips. Upon falling down, there's one cool thing you can do. You can just stay in place, not do anything, and wait for him to finish his attack. And then just move in front of him. And you will never ever get hit like this. Use lightning resonance for major damage increase. But remember to reapply, because this fight is very long. Now, you probably don't want to hear this, but do not lock on. It really might take some time getting used to, but it is so worth it, trust me. When you lock on, you're very likely to end up underneath him and lose orientation. And keeping in front of him and keeping your orientation is absolute key. Always reset to the exact same position, which is in front of him. If you really can't handle the non-locked on camera, at least make sure to always stay far in front of him and dodge backwards. But the camera angles really do get very bad if they keep following his head. The general flow of the fight is you always wait until he lowers his head after an attack and then attack him once or twice, then back up again, move into your position, and rinse and repeat. Okay, now we're gonna analyze all of his attacks. Yes, every single one of them. One where he just attacks once. This one is very slow and he's reaching up very high. Then 2 long, slow swipe attacks. You can see these ones coming because they have a really big delay and he leans very far to the side. Now we're getting to the more complicated combos. He's got 2 different combos where he mixes up stomps and slashes. The first one consists of 1 stomp and then 2 delayed slow slashes afterwards. The second one is almost the same, except it's 2 quick stomps followed up by the same 2 delayed slashes. And lastly, he's got a wild frenzy of attacks. You can see that one coming because it's a stomp, followed by a quick slash. If you see that, you will know that you'll have to get out of the way fast. He also screams in the middle of it. So at the latest, if you hear the scream, you know to run. You just run and roll backwards, and wait for the head to drop to be able to punish him again. Generally, after every single attack, you can always punish him. Okay, next up, he has 2 different charge attacks. One where he tilts his head down towards the floor, charges up very long, and then dashes forward. The timing might get some time to get used to, but it's not too bad. Just make sure to dodge towards him for extra invincibility frames, and then walk out underneath him. And the other one is he roars or screams at you, and then throws his head on the ground in an attempt to bite you. All you do here is dodge backwards at the right timing, and you can punish him easily afterwards. The reason he dodged backwards instead of forward is because he can catch you in his mouth. In that big, gaping, scary mouth. Okay, next up is probably the most scary part about this boss, and it is the fire attacks. The first one is he snaps with his head twice, then goes back and breathes fire. You can roll the second one into him or towards him, and you can run to the right of his head and punish. Important is that you run to the right and not to the left, because the fire is coming from the left side. And the second one is he slams twice with his hands, and then breathes fire in a straight line. If you're quick, you can go to his head and punish as well. Now the scary fire attacks. One of them, he stands on his hind legs and breathes fire. Always run to the left, because that's where the fire is not coming from, and back up a little to not get caught by the fire on the floor. Next up, he flies upwards and breathes fire. Simply run to the left and you will be perfectly fine, because he breathes the fire in the other direction instead of straight beneath him. Now, this is the same attack that he always does at the beginning of the fight. He's walking while breathing fire. This one is incredibly difficult to dodge, even for me still. So what I do is I get underneath him as fast as possible and just wait for him to turn around. Easy. But make sure to watch out for a tail whip or a single slam when you're behind or besides him. Now, when Midir jumps backwards and starts breathing fire to the floor, he will follow it up with a deadly laser. So when you see him jump, immediately run towards him and try to get underneath him as fast as possible. The laser will not hit you if you're underneath him. If you fail to react quickly to the jumping back, the laser is very likely to get you. So when you see him jump, always follow, no matter what. This attack is pretty rare, and sometimes, after jumping, instead of breathing fire to the floor and doing the laser, he breathes fire in a straight line twice. This one is way less deadly than the laser attack, so you might get lucky, but still always be prepared for the laser and prepare to get underneath him. Last but not least, phase 2. Upon transition, he will explode. Make sure you're not too close to him, but you also don't have to run very far away to dodge this attack. When he casts the ghosts, run far backwards, then sideways, and roll late. Two other variations is he slams once and then casts the ghosts, or he slams twice and then casts the ghosts. Now to the scariest of all attacks, the endless crazy laser. Very important, do not forget to always follow him when he jumps, or else you won't be able to make it in time. But it's super simple. You run towards him, then just briefly run to the left just as he's about to start his laser. Continue straight, and then stay on his left foot, which is to your right. Then wait until he collapses, then you can get a lot of hits on his head. And in most cases, you will be able to stagger him here. Now, if you manage to stagger him, you can deal massive damage by performing a critical attack. Afterwards, you have time for a few more hits, but do not get greedy if he's not dead yet. Reset to your regular position, which is in front of him, wait for an opening. This is very, very important. I've failed many attempts to me being greedy and wanting to finish him off, when I should have just stayed patient. Ah yeah, the greed. It can really mess with your head. Yes, I know, it might seem like he has way too many attacks and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna remember all of them? But it turns out his attacks are not actually that diverse and they're all really similar. So you can kind of all put them under one hat and then learn them as a bulk. Okay, to wrap this up, try to not get too intimidated by his size or his giant HP bar. From Software wouldn't make a boss that is straight up unfair and unbeatable. A boss like this always has a weakness. And I just told you how to exploit these weaknesses. You're welcome. Now get out there and show that big bad emo boy who's boss. I really hope this video helped you. If it did, leave me a like, leave me a comment, tell me about your experience, and most importantly, please, 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 please subscribe to my channel. Also, watch me live on Twitch almost every day, and don't forget to see you in the next tutorials. Okay, bye!